Hey everybody, this is my wife, Alanis. She's going to be my audience member and then asking the questions for the impromptu speech.
What is your favorite childhood memory? What is your favorite holiday tradition and why? What is your best military experience thus far?
My best military experience, or probably my favorite military experience thus far over the last 10 years, probably would have to be my last deployment about 4 years ago to Bagram, Afghanistan. Mostly because that's the time when I was truly led back to Christ. Quick testimony, as I grew up, I was raised in a Lutheran church, but I was forced to go to church constantly by my parents. And as a kid, when you're forced to do something, you don't want to do something. So I ended up not ever wanting to do it. Well, as I got older, I began to doubt what we were actually doing and why, because again, everything just felt so forced and it didn't feel like I was choosing any of that. So then over the course of about the next 6 to 10 years, I really didn't believe, I don't want to say I didn't believe in God, but I just questioned everything he did, I questioned any belief in him, or the truth of the Bible. But during that deployment, I was able to find really what it was how God works in my life. And I felt truly a calling to go back to the church and to seek him. I had promised my wife that if I ever felt discouraged, that I would seek help, as I was struggling with some issues from some previous deployments. And so I didn't know where to go, and I ended up with the chapel. And during that time, while I was in the chapel, I made some friends that really changed my life. They ultimately showed me the true love that comes out of fellowship in Christ, and really what that is. As a result, I ended up there every week, 2 to 3 times a week. Not only that, but I started attending regular Bible studies. I started attending additional services anywhere I could. I started sharing my faith with others. And then about a year ago, during these different transitional periods in my life over the last 3 years since we've been in Italy, I felt the calling towards the ministry. And I really attribute a lot of that to the feeling that came from going back to church. And really what it was, just the different experiences that I had in Afghanistan that had led me to kind of seek just some companionship. And I found that companionship in Jesus Christ, and in fellowship with God and fellowship with others that believed, and that truly, really sought to know God and how he is, what he does in the lives of others. And through that, I hope that eventually one day in ministry, I will get to share these experiences even more so with as many people as I ever come in contact with, and that they would experience the same thing I do. Because when I'm reading, or when I'm worshiping, or doing any of these things that have to do with God, it is such an overwhelming feeling of peace and of love. And like I said, so ultimately, I really do attribute that to that deployment in Afghanistan. And it really was. It was probably the best deployment. It was one of the best missions that I was on, and it really just changed my life for probably the most positive way. And a lot of times we look at deployments negative, but ultimately I look at that as a very positive experience. And even the 3 members of the team that I was on for some of the missions we were doing, they are still some of my best friends today, despite the fact that they live on the other side of the world in various locations. So ultimately, that was probably my best and most favorite experience in the military.